the Arts and today's edition of Art Center Live. My name is Hyla Crane and I'm the Executive Director. And as always, we have a very special guest with us today. As you may or may not know, our second annual wine tasting and auction will take place here at the Marco Island Center for the Arts in two enormous tents in our parking lot on March 31st, 2022 at 6 o'clock. There are a few tickets left, so at the end, we'll tell you about how you can potentially get a ticket. But today with us is Stu Lerner, who is the proprietor of the Lerner Project out in California. Hi, Stu. Welcome. We're so glad you could join us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Stu is going to be here with his beautiful wife of, what was that, 37 years?
37 years.
And he will be offering tastings, because this is both a wine tasting and auction of wines from his several vineyards. Now, Stu, can you tell us a little bit about what people attending the event are going to be able to expect? What wines are you going to be sharing with us?
Well, thank you for having me on the podcast here. We're going to be pouring two wines during the event. We will have a wine underneath the table, just a special wine that I brought along, so people can get a little taste of that. We're going to be tasting our 2018 RMS wine, which is a Bordeaux style. It's 75% Cabernet, 15% Cabernet Franc, and 10% Merlot. It scored 98 points with Jeb Dunnick. It's a fantastic wine. My winemaker, Russell Bevan, who's also my business partner with my wife, Karen. Russell is a master blender. Russell's also a one-liner. So his one line on this wine here is, if you're ever going out on your first date, this is the wine you take with you, because you're guaranteed a second date. So it's built, like I said, a Bordeaux style. It's smooth. Russell is, because he's a master blender, his palate allows the wines to process quicker than a lot of other wines, the way we fermentate our wines differently. So these wines, even though they're 2018s, drink so smoothly right now. You don't need to lay these down. You could, they'll lay down for 20 years, but you could drink it right now. Our second wine we're gonna do is our estate vineyard up on Diamond Mountain. It's called Armstrong Ranch. Armstrong Ranch and this wine is 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. It was put in place in 1983, designed by the famous Dick Stelzer, who designed Stag's Leap Vineyard back in the early 70s. This wine is incredible. It's mountaintop, 1,400 foot elevation. The vines are 38 years old, the oldest vines left on mountaintop, original vines in Napa Valley. It's absolutely a bomb. It's scored 99 points with two different critics and 96 plus on another critic. The third wine that I'm going to have underneath the table comes from the Huey Vineyard. The Huey Vineyard sits on top of Pritchard Hill, which is eastern mountain of Napa. It is 98% Cabernet from the vineyard, 1% Cabernet Franc, and 1% Petit Verdot. The Huey Vineyard is famous for the appellation it's in. It sits right next door to famous wineries like Colgan, Bryant Family, Chapelet, Ovid. So its pedigree up there is one to be touched. It's the second most expensive fruit to buy in Napa Valley. So those are the three wines that we're going to be pouring at the event. So we're excited to share those with everybody. I think they'll all appreciate how hard and how good they really are.
Well, I certainly know I'm excited, and even though I know I'm going to be very busy during the event, I'm going to make it over to your table because I want to try those wines now that you've talked about them. So those are the wines we're going to have at our event on March 31st. But Tell me a little bit about the Lerner Project and how it started. You weren't always a proprietor of a winery. Like as you've said, I tried to count, there are 4 vineyards that are being used during this. How did this start? How did you become the proprietor of the Lerner Project?
Well, my previous life, I was in the pallet industry, wooden pallets. And so back in early 1980s, I was hired as a sales manager for a pallet company. My first accounts were Napa Valley and Sonoma. And so my first order I got in the pallet industry came from Robert Mondavi himself back in early 1983. And it was fantastic because I was meeting an icon in an industry where I really didn't even like that much wine. I surely didn't drink red wine. I was a white wine drinker because I lived in Southern California. Grew up in a baseball family. So we never had red wine. We'd drink white wine. And then of course, when in college, I had my coolers with the white wine and 7-Up. But after I'd go and visit all these wineries, they'd always invite me to the tasting rooms to go try the sample of the wines. Well, 6 or 7 sales calls in a day, 6 or 7 tasting rooms. It was a pretty good day. So I learned a lot from a lot of the people pouring wines. I also tasted my first wine. I was invited to Robert Mondavi's 65th birthday party as a preferred vendor. And that's where I got to taste my first red wine that I really enjoyed. I was lucky enough, it was Opus One. So what a way to start drinking red wine. I got the taste bug at that point in time and have been a big collector. Behind me is my cellar of 10,000 bottles of 9,990 are red and 10 are white, but I'm a red guy. So I just have been in Napa since 1983, tasting and meeting people. And that's how I got started. Someday I really wanted to make my own wine, but I just didn't want to make wine. I wanted to make the best wine in the world. If I couldn't make wine that I would buy, then I'm not going to make it. And that was the premises of starting it. I was looking at 4 or 5 winemakers to make my wine. I ended up with Russell. I've known Russell for a long time. Russell just makes a wine that I prefer. So I asked him if he'd work with us, and I wanted him to have his name, skin in the game. And so Russell became a partner with Karen and I in Lerner Project. Russell's pedigree is he's the only 2-time winner of the Robert Parker Winemaker of the Year Award worldwide. The only one to be able to do that. He's had more 100-point scores than any other winemaker since 2011. Russell is as competitive as I am. Our goal is to make the best wine in the world, and we're not going to stop until we get there. And once we get there, we want to consistently stay at that level.
That's incredible. So when did the project actually start? When did the Lerner Project start? How long have you been at this?
So our first vintage was 2016, and we did about 1,000 cases of wine that year. We had the highest scores of any new winery in the world in 2016. So we were off to a good start. In 17, we did about 1,000 cases again. We got a few extra vineyards. We bought our ranch up on Diamond Mountain, the Armstrong Ranch. And so in 18, our production went up. So a lot of the fruit came from us. And so we're staying around the 2,200 to 2,500 total wine production. And that's where we'll stay. I don't really want to go any higher than that. I think if I go higher, then the quality is going to go down. And the whole purpose of this job and what we're trying to accomplish here is to make best wine in the world. So I made, we were fortunate enough with other investments and other businesses to make our money. Our job now is not necessarily make a lot of money, but don't lose what we've already made. But if the fruit's not going to make the quality that we need to make, we're just not going to make it.
I see. Yes, there was a quote I noticed from your website that said, and I believe this was Russell Bevins quoting you, that the first thing Stu told me it was so important. He said, if I'm going to do this, the one thing we will never do is compromise on quality. And I think that's such a, it shows the passion that you have for this and the commitment and really building a legacy for you, for Russell, and for the Lerner Project as a vineyard. So talk to me a little bit. You made mention of when you purchased I think it was the Armstrong Ranch. Can you tell us a little bit about these 4 vineyards that you have that are being used?
When you have a talent like Russell as a winemaker, you want to give him every opportunity to use the best fruit or find the best fruit so he can create his magic on making wine. And so the hardest part in Napa and a lot of other regions is finding that quality of fruit. You know, a really good winemaker will tell you it's the terroir, the soil that makes the wine. The winemaker only enhances it. But he could also hurt it. So Russell is a really firm believer that taking fruit from other sectors and seeing how they play and play by themselves and play together is what the common goal is. So our Bordeaux blend that we do, for example, we use Cabernet from 3 different of the vineyards. So the first vineyard that we've been using is the Tench vineyard. It backs up, shares the fence line with the famous wine called Screaming Eagle in Oakville, the highest priced wine in California, probably the US too. So that's where we get a lot of it's a very earthy soil, very rocky, so you get a lot of earth tones in the wine. So we have that vineyard that we get strictly Cabernet from. We have the Armstrong Ranch. Our Armstrong Ranch sits up at 1,400 feet elevation in Diamond Mountain. At the top of the mountain, it's volcanic, so a lot of obsidian, very rocky. The terroir there was built, like I said earlier, Dick Stelzer designed it. So if you were in Portugal, this is what you would see in Portugal. The level of the grade, you're only allowed a 30% grade since 1992 and up. This was designed in '83. Our grade goes up to 68%, which is unheard of in Napa Valley. The other vineyard that we source our fruit from is we got our Merlot and Cab Franc from Sugarloaf Mountain. This is where Russell put this vineyard on the map. He scored 4 consecutive 100-point scores from this vineyard, and it's the lower part of Napa, so we get the San Pablo Bay, the winds that come in, and so Cabernet Franc and Merlot are great blenders that make great wine from that area because of the weather. We have also picked up the Huey Vineyard up on Pritchard Hill, and we get some fantastic Cabernet from them up there on the hill. Coming forward in 2021, coming up, we have a new vineyard that we picked up also that'll be coming on board in a few years, and that's Sage Canyon. That's eastern mountains of Napa. So we're excited about it. We're always looking for great fruit so Russell can create his magic. That's, you never want to just stand still. You want to keep looking to see if you can either improve or do whatever you can to be able to expand your brand in the right way.
And again, we've been talking about Russell and with a sense of reverence and the fact that his work, he is an artist in what he does. I know, and I've asked one of the other wineries that will be coming to our event, what are your thoughts on whether making wine is an art or a craft? I've done some research and there seems to be people who believe one, people who believe the other. What do you believe?
I think if you're a winemaker, you've got to be an artist to start out with. Okay? They're like someone doing a painting. Okay? Someone making pottery. They're their own way. They run, they go to their own beat. So I would say most winemakers are artists. Now, with that it said, they also have a craft. They've got to craft something, but it's that artist part of them that can tell them how to blend, how to see things, how to taste things, how to smell things. It's not for the average person. You know, I see a painting and I see someone do a beautiful painting. I go, wow, incredible. When I see a great wine being made, I say the same thing. Wow, that's incredible. I wish I could do that. Okay. I'm even in the wine business and I'm still learning how to do that. So it's a talent. It is a craft, but these are artists that are out there making the high-end, fantastic wines today.
So, and it sounds as though these wines, you know, you care deeply and you have such a passion for this whole endeavor. Is there, if you had to pick one of the wines, I know this is like picking one of your children probably, do you have a favorite, or are they all ones that they're all your children and you love them all equally?
Well, as two comments on that. As Russell would say, whatever bottle he opens, his famous line is, okay, let's see what children want to play today. Do they want to play in this wine today, or do they want to play in this wine? And then what he'll do is, okay, tomorrow, then you're going to have to step up and play on the other bottle. So there's, you know, wines change every day. And like it or not, your palate today may not be your palate tomorrow. And you might like this wine today, but you didn't like it as much tomorrow. And that's just because your palate's evolving and a lot of things are happening, depending on what you ate before. There's a lot of things that change that. But my favorite wine that we're making today is the Armstrong Ranch. Now, saying that, I have a lot more invested in that vineyard because my wife and I bought the ranch up there, 91-acre ranch, 13 acres planted. So, you know, yes, I want that to be my favorite wine just because we have that much more invested in it. But all the wines are fantastic. And we do these trade shows, we do all these events, and it's amazing how we can find somebody's palate. Somebody's going to like one of these wines. Would I say there's one or two wines that probably hits people's palates more? Yes. But for the most part, all these wines will hit everybody's palate differently, but they're all sensational wines. They all rate over 96 points. And I think that everybody will really enjoy them all.
Well, I can't wait. Now I'm so excited. Now that I'm like going to be Xing off the days to get to that. I just have a question. You said that there are 10,000 bottles behind you?
Yes. Yeah.
Is it possible to drink all of that in a lifetime?
No.
Okay. Is this going to be a legacy that you pass on to your children?
Well, let's put it this way. When they were a lot younger, when they were in high school, I had them do my inventory of my wine one summer. And they were looking up stuff on the internet, and they basically told me, hey, Dad, when you go, this stuff's all going on eBay. And I said, and then, of course, Karen heard that. No, it's mine. It's mine. So, you know, now they say, no. This is, they will take on the wine and enjoy it. I've have one, a big collection, a really good collection. And I love opening bottles in front of other people. And I'm proud to open our bottles up against them. And some of these are, you know, world-class wines that, you know, we can go toe-to-toe with. But I still enjoy drinking everybody else's wines, because the one thing in that wine industry, when you're making wine, you don't want to have a house palate. You really want to be able to taste everything that everybody else is making to see what you can do to improve your wines.
Interesting. Now, of course, we are an art center. We don't have a liquor license, but I do know that our event chairs are making arrangements with a distributor so that people tasting your wines, there will be a way for them to purchase them. That is correct? You had mentioned something that was really so generous that you and your wife are going to do based on the sales. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So, you know, we really want to support the charity. So Karen and I, you know, we will donate 10% of the proceeds that we get from the event at the event. We'll send back to the charity, just as our way of also helping out. I know that we're doing we have a tasting lot, and we've a Magnum, I believe we've also put in for the auction, but this is just another way for us to help your charity out?
Well, we here at the Marco Island Center for the Arts are incredibly grateful for that. A portion of the proceeds from this, and indeed our fund in need, is going to support our children's summer programs, which are free and open to children so that cost is never a barrier for any child or a child's parents who wants to participate and have this genuine art enrichment. We've actually already filled up one of our first classes, and that was done in 3 days. So we are very excited, but we could not do it without the generous support of people like you. So thank you. Now, I am curious, having moved from one business and obviously having this passion for the wine industry, for the art of creating wine, having really, I mean, you're almost like an empire builder here. Who or what has been the most major influence on you in creating the Lerner Project?
Well, it goes back. I mentioned earlier that, I was fortunate enough to meet Robert Mondavi way back when. There was another person who worked at BV Vineyards, Blue Vineyards. His name was Bob Branch. He was one of my customers. He worked there for 45 years. And he was kind of, an influence to me. He kind of act like a grandfather to me. And so I go in there, he taught me a lot about the industry, about the business, about how his dad was in the business back in the early 1900s. And so, people like that, you get the stories of all these people that have been in it for a long time. But, today, I feed on Russell Bevan. Russell is one that I love about Russell is he educates people. He's not afraid to show people how he does certain things. And so I appreciate that. And I've learned so much about the wine since I've been in it. Drinking wine, and as you can see, I collect wine, I drink wine, but knowing all the other facets of the business is something that, if you want to be in the wine business, you need to know a lot of that stuff. I wish I knew some of the stuff better, back then. I could have made maybe smarter decisions on some of the stuff I did going forward. But, now today, I have that resource in me and Russell that he will do whatever he needs to do to help me or help others and teach others, because he knows that his time will be restricted at some point in time when his palate is not the same anymore. And we'll have to have other generations that come up behind that are able to make the same kinds of wine or even better wines moving forward.
Well, I guess you'll need to start bringing people in so that you make sure that they are trained and that they will continue to uphold the very high standard of being the best of the best. That is your mantra and your philosophy. Well, Stu, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have to tell you, not only am I really excited about tasting your wines when you get here for March 31st, but now I want to come out to Napa and see what you're doing out there. This just sounds so exciting. I'm now putting it on my bucket list. And for my friends out there, a little bit of information about the wine event. There are still a few, and I mean a few tickets left, which you could get by calling the Art Center, 239-394-4221, or just go to our website, www.marcoislandart.org. And while you're there, on the website, you can click in and see a preview of all of the live auction items, and you can look at all of the silent auction items. And until this Friday, March 25th, at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, there is an option that if you see something that you want, that you just have to have, you don't want to run the risk that somebody will outbid you, or you're not able to make it to the event and you really want it, well, you can hit a buy now option and purchase it ahead of the event. Now, the only condition is we don't deliver and we don't ship. So you have to be able to pick up your item within 2 weeks of the event here at the Marco Island Center for the Arts. But there are some, well, it's an extraordinary auction, and especially for wine enthusiasts, there are wines that have been donated from people's personal collections, wines that you couldn't otherwise get, along with a lot of other really, really great items. So I would strongly encourage you, go to our website, click on events, go down to the annual wine tasting and auction and check out our auction. And last but not least, if you're interested, we also have opportunities available that you can volunteer at the event. So if on March 31st you've got some time and the inclination and you want to still be part of this event, you can give me a call here at the Art Center and I can hook you up. Stu, thank you. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. We appreciate you coming and talking with us today, and I know we are going to be so grateful when you arrive and you are here for this event. So we look forward to seeing you then, okay?
Look forward to seeing you next week, everybody.
Okay, and to my friends out there, you know, whether it's coming to the wine event, whether it's coming to an art reception, a class, whether it's sending your children to one of our programs, coming to one of our musical interludes, attending an event, meeting one of our authors, whatever it may be, you all are dear to us because you are our art family, and we try every day in every way to be your art home. Goodbye, everybody.